So now we should be live. So I'm gonna go see on Facebook if we're live. We are live. So I'm gonna close my Facebook so we don't have like some more people. Perfect. So are we ready to start?
Ready?
Yeah, we are.
Thank you, Cesar, for being here with us.
Thank you for
We
your
appreciate
invite. Thank you.
so much appreciation for that. So maybe Carolina, we can change the the slide and go right away. So just a quick introduction so that you know who we are. So I am Marie-Ève. You can say Marie or Maria if you prefer. So Nadia and Francois or Francisco, if you prefer, and Carolina. So we are all the four co-founder of the Digital Nomad Association Colombia that we are creating right now. So is there another slide to show what the association is doing, or? No, so that's it. Okay, so basically it's a new association. I think most of you heard about it in the first webinar that we did. So our role is going to provide to help digital nomads to come into Colombia and connect, be guided, get all the resources that they need, and have a community of people so that to really enjoy and explore Colombia and maybe create in Colombia more easily. So we also have a private Facebook group for this association. If you join the Facebook group right now, you're gonna have access to some nice discount on the membership that's going to be launched very soon in a couple of months. So now we are working on the membership. We are working on so many things for this association. It's coming soon. And I guess the link is in we're going to share the link in the other Facebook group, the free one. Yeah. So, okay. Nadia, I'm looking at you because yeah, Nadia is the main founder of the association. So she's the one who had the idea. So she knows everything. So I just want to be sure, Nadia, everything I say is good. So, and like hosting webinars and things like that can events also, online event, physical event, conferences. This is part of what we want to do to help all digital nomads to have the right information. So this is why we are doing that today. And with this new digital nomad visa being released and people having so many questions, that's why we thought it would be useful to offer you a webinar with Cesar, which is a very talented lawyer who know everything about this visa. So today, we're gonna answer all your questions. So Nadia, Carolina, Francisco, would you like to add anything? Maybe introduce yourself or
yeah, so thank you very much, Maria. I think I don't want to add anything, just to say hello to all the people that they are here, like in the Facebook Live and also in the Zoom meeting. So thank you for taking the time, and we are like very delighted and very happy yes, to help you out, yes, whatever you need. So I am Nadia. I'm a digital nomad. I am from Colombia, but in this moment I am in Europe. Yes, so I will be in Colombia in December, so I'm very happy to meet you, all of you, very soon. So yeah, so Francisco and Carolina, you can introduce yourself as well.
Hello, everybody. I'm Francisco. I lived in Medellin last fall. I fell in love with the country, the people, and I travel over South America this year. Now I'm in Montreal, Quebec, but I'm going back to Medellin in a couple of weeks for using this digital nomad visa. I hope to stay there at least 6 months. Hi.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Carolina. I'm a digital nomad in my own country right now. I'm planning to go to other places, but I'm just exploring Colombia for now. And I'm so happy to be in this project. I also want to add the membership and all of that. We're going to talk more about it at the end. So if you're interested and you want to know more, we can talk about it in the end, and we can just start with the information about the visa.
Yes, and just because I forgot to introduce myself, so my name is Maria, and as like Francois, I'm from Quebec, Canada. So this is why my accent. But I'm now in because my first language is French. So, but I'm now in Bogota, and I travel a little bit also around Colombia. So I'm very excited too about this digital nomad visa. So let's go right now and listen to our guest. Cesar, he has so many things to share.
Thank you, Maria, for that beautiful introduction. Thank you to the Digital Nomad Association for this invitation. I'm very flattered to be invited to this group and to this great meeting where I will be clarifying some doubts about the new digital nomad visa, which I know a lot of people are interested in right now. It's a very popular visa right now, so it gives a lot of opportunities to different people from around the world to come into Colombia and enjoy this beautiful country. Next, please. Before we begin, I want to introduce my team. We have presence in Panama. This is Nicolas, he's our attorney in Panama. We also have Veronica, she's an attorney in Ecuador. We have Olga, who is our tax law expert. We have Susana, who is our certified translator. And we have Sandra, which is the financial expert of the firm. Next, please. Our social media, please, if you have an opportunity, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Right now, we have a web page that's going under renovation. It's a great opportunity to introduce all these new changes. It's going to introduce all the Q&As that a lot of expats have, and it's going to introduce a lot of online legal service that is going to be directed to expats. Next, please. This is a table of content of all the topics we're going to be talking about today. The changes of visa regimen, beneficiary visa, Q&A, scope of the legal services that we provide, and legal advisory costs of the services. Next, please. Here's the very famous topic, digital nomad visa. So these are some of the requirements. They hold for a passport. Remember that you have to be, it cannot be more than 6 months of validation to the expiration. Just a valid passport that permits you to enter Colombia. Remember that as a tourist, you have 180 days in the country. So just be aware of this little detail that it cannot be close to expiration, but just the main page of your passport. A letter to prove nomad status. Basically, it's a letter from the company from abroad where you're contracted, where it has the salary that you make and that you're contracted with this company, either by a set term or indefinite time. In case of entrepreneurs, they must present a motivational letter. Show at least, which is very important, show at least 3 months of income with at least 3 minimum wages of Colombia, which right now is $1 million pesos. Approximately, it should be within, that depends also on the exchange rate of the moment, which should be within $600 to $700 that you have to provide and show that type of income for this type of visa. Another important factor is the health policy coverage, which has to do with health issues, with death, repatriation, all these important matters and details that have to be provided so that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs approves the visa. Next, please. So to understand the digital nomad visa, what is it? To provide remote work and service, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little, let me just take.
Is that me or there's a technical problem?
Probably, I guess. Yes, I think it's a technical problem, so it is not you. So I think it was the same problem the last Facebook Live, which is like a very, very funny.
Okay, it's coming back. that's okay. I
Yeah,
think
so he's
something-
coming back. So yeah, so very good. Let's just wait to Cesar.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. So as I was saying, to provide remote work services and teleworking from Colombia through digital nomads and the internet exclusive from foreign countries, as in maybe labor related, or to start a digital content, entrepreneurship, information technologies of interest to the country. I'm sorry. Validity of course 2 years, and are you able to bring beneficiaries, which is family members, which we will explain further ahead? Yes, you are able to provide obtain a beneficiary visa, which I will explain. And next, please. What are the changes to the new? This is something also very important aside from the digital nomad visa, the new changes to the visa regimen. We haven't had a change since 2017, approximately. So this is a very important change to the visa process in Colombia, which is Resolution 5477 of 2022. Some of the important changes: the immigration authority will have up to 30 calendar days to issue the pronouncement, what previously term was 5 days, I'm sorry. So what does that mean? When you file the visa for a revision from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government legally had 5 days to give a pronouncement to either reject or approve your visa. However, with this new resolution, they're going to have up to 30 days. That's going to extend their time of revision quite a bit. Number 2, time for issuing an electronic visa will go from 3 business days to up to 10 business days. What does that mean? That before, once you got the visa approved, the government would expedite or send you your electronic visa within 3 business days. Now they can take up to 10 business days, just to keep that in mind. Another important factor differentiating between the spouse visa, R visa after 3 years, and the permanent partner visa, residency visa after 5 years. What does that mean? They separated these visas. Before it was just one visa, and now it's going to be divided. It's going to be one for spouse visa, a second for permanent partner visa, and the times to obtain the residency with this type of visa changed. Not basically for the spouse visa, but it did separate a permanent partner. So that means that for a permanent partner, it's going to go up to 5 years, which is a big change in this resolution. Once a visa is authorized, you will have 10 calendar days to make the payment. Very important. Once you get a visa approved, I always recommend this to my clients. Try to pay this as fast as possible, because then you'll forget. And if these 10 calendar days pass, what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is going to think that you're not interested in the visa, and they'll just basically cancel it. So very important. Once the visa is approved, make the payment immediately if you can. If not, then you remember that you have this time frame to make the payment. Visa stamp will no longer be mandatory unless it is requested by a government official. Basically, after the pandemic, this changed. Before, you would have to go to the Cancilleria, which is called in Spanish, and you would have to go directly with an appointment, wait in line, and then you would have to go up to their offices and wait until an official would call you and stamp your visa. Fortunately, with the pandemic, this made everything online. So now you get a digital visa. You get a PDF format with a QR code, which is now your new visa. And all your information is provided. All you have to do is you can either keep it on your cell phone, provide it when you get to Migración Colombia, and that will be your entrance or exit into the country. Next, please. So when did this about? This resolution 5477 was introduced July 22nd, but it took effect on October 21st. On October 1st, since October 21st, we have this new regimen and this new type of visa, which is part of this new regimen, the digital nomad visa, which was repealing resolution 1980 of 2014 and 6045 of 2017. Just a little legal fact there, so you can keep it in mind. Next, please. Very important. What is a beneficiary visa? Basically, when you get a visa approved, there's a lot of visas, not all, that have the option of having a beneficiary visa. This means that if you have a Nomad visa, you want to come over with your spouse or your children, then you have this option. You automatically have this option for this type of visa. The type of visa applies for the following cases: the spouse or permanent partner, children under the age of 25 who are dependent financially, very important, of the main holder of the visa, and children with disabilities. Something that changed is that under the new law, parents are no longer considered beneficiaries. With the previous resolution, you can bring in your family as well as your parents. However, with this new change, they excluded that option. Next, please. Well, these are some of the questions that I received, which we share with you. How long does the process take, and what fees does the ministry charge for visas in Colombia? The complete process is expected between 6 to 8 weeks, subject to complication or delays associated with the government restrictions. The cost is around $282, and the immigration card issue an additional $65. Can I apply for a visa while I'm abroad? Yes, you can. You can apply from a consulate, from a Colombian consulate, which is an option, which is very easy. It's something that we do through our law firm. We contact the consulates and we basically apply online, but from a consulate. And next, what answers could I receive back from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs? Basically approved, required, non-approved, or denied. What documents need to be apostilled? Consider every document brought from another country needs to be apostilled or legalized, and if necessary, translated to Spanish by an official Colombian translator. Very important, it has to be a certified translator. We do have, as I showed you in the beginning, we do have a certified translator in case you need this service. But it's very important that this person be certified, because if it's just any translator, it is not certified by the Universidad Nacional, which is the university that provides this certification, then it will not be valid. And next, please. This is the scope of the legal services that we provide. Once you contract with us, this is basically all of the work that we do for you. We do all the legwork. We take away the burden from this, from all this process, because in Colombia, the visa process and the obtainment process is becoming much more complicated. They're doing summonses or requerimientos, and these requerimientos are a bit complicated. You have to draft up letters explaining the legal situations of why you're requesting this visa, and that's what we basically do. So step one, we review the documentation and application preparation. We do the application filing. Step three, we process monitoring. We monitor everything that goes on. If there's a summons, we answer the summons with a legal response. And we also help you with the national ID issuance appointment. What we take care of is we issue the appointment, we fill out all the information, all the applications, everything that is required, and we give you the legal consultation at all times and during the process. Next, please. Next, please. Okay, the legal advisor that we provide has a cost of typically it's $300, as is posted on our website that it's under renovation. However, because you are part of this community, we're giving a special price of $200 for the month of November. And like I mentioned, because you are part of this association, we could provide this special discount. Next, please. And in case you need to contact me, this is my number. And also, this is our website, which will be launched in about a week. And in this website, there's going to be a lot of interesting things, a lot of tools that are going to help you, information about the visa process, information about what is an apostille, what is a visa, what is an ID card, online help, and legal news that will be updated to provide you with all the information required.
Thank you so much, Cesar. So now it's, I think it's question time. I have, before we take other questions, I just to make it clear and maybe celebrate a little bit, because last webinar, we knew that the launch of this visa would be on October 21st, but we were not really sure 100% because it depends of if the government is able to do all this online transfer for real in 1 month. So right now, can we celebrate like the visa is released, it's official, everything is doing fine, or did you receive any other information related to the release or the launch?
And related to the launch, yes, basically, what happened since Friday, last week, the applications are able to be filed. I already filed 2 visas for clients of mine. The only thing, like any system with the government, there are glitches. I had to do different, have to manage different strategies to overcome the little glitches that that the government's having right now. Fortunately, we had our 2 visas go through. They're under revision right now. But yes, the visa, I'm happy to announce that everything is, able to apply. The government made it official. It's a great moment. This new digital nomad visa is going to give great opportunities to everyone. And yes, everything is going through perfectly, as we just confirmed a few days ago when we helped some of our clients.
Amazing. So let's do it. Okay, so we have a question. We have a couple of questions in the chat. We have one hand raised. I'm going to start with the first question in the chat because I think this person was first. So Matt is saying, does the Nomad visa need to be renewed every 6 months, or once approved, it is valid for 2 years? I think we already answered it, but maybe Cesar, you can summarize the answer.
Okay, so if the time that, yes, every visa, a lot of people think that when you, for example, when the time has passed of your visa, that you're doing a renewal. No, every visa is a brand new visa. So if they give you 1 year and you're close to your expiration date, then you can apply for a new visa and they'll give you up to 2 years. There's something that I have to clarify is that the law indicates up to 2 years. However, it doesn't mean that they'll give you those 2 years. Sometimes it's the discretion of the entity. Maybe they'll give you 1 year. So you have to be very careful, because a lot of times the pronouncement of the government confuses our clients in regards to, well, if the government said 2 years, but yes, it's up to 2 years. So they might give you the 2 complete years, or they might give you 1. And once that time is expired, you have to solicit a brand new visa. And then with that new visa, they might give you the same amount of time, or they might give you the full amount, which is 2 years.
Perfect. Thank you. Now we have Danielle saying, I'd like to get this set up with you guys. What are the next steps? So you can contact directly Cesar's team. Danielle, if you would like to work with him. Ricardo is saying, can this visa be solicited while in Colombia? Yes, we can do it. And Cesar's team can help you with that as well. Carlos, if we want to move forward, do we contact your office to set up an appointment or to set the process? Yes, so Cesar gave you the contact on the presentation. We can send the contact, share the contact again in the Facebook group. So you're gonna have all the information for now. So now we're gonna take the hands, because people wants to share some question, and we're gonna go with David question in the chat after that. So Jared George, would you like to share?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, thank you guys, first of all, for setting this up. This is extremely helpful because I think a lot of expats are curious about the digital nomad visa. So yeah, thanks again. And I guess I had 2 questions. I'll kind of keep it short. But the first question is, I think I just heard you say that you had 2 successful visas that have been approved, or that for the digital nomad. So just out of curiosity, but I think in one of the first slides, I read that it said that it was, I guess, like if you wanted a digital nomad visa, it was through working for a foreign entity or maybe through an entrepreneurial route. But what is the more successful way to do it, considering, let's say you have both? Maybe you work full-time for an American company, and at the same time, you probably have your own private company as well. But which one would be more of a successful way to get this visa? Would the motivational letter be more successful than working for a American company or a foreign company?
Well, it's both. Our options are viable. What I would recommend, in my opinion, was go through, if you're contract with a company and you can receive a letter indicating that you're contracted with this company, that's a really good option. However, also if you're an entrepreneur, that's also a very viable option. However, what I've noticed with experience is that they're a little bit more strict when it comes to entrepreneurs. They start requesting more information, and it's a little bit more complicated. However, both options are viable. However, I would always take the route, if you're contracted with a company, a lot of times it's easier. This isn't, I have to be honest, this is a new visa, so it's something that's brand new. I applied for both my clients, and I haven't had it approved. I successfully got their visa filed, which is something positive, because a lot of people are having difficulties, and a lot of times with the entities and their websites, it's chaos, especially when something new is being launched. But we successfully have these visas filed. We're monitoring the revision process. And in regard to your question, yes, I would recommend. The government doesn't really make a difference between both. However, from experiences with other types of visas, when it comes to companies, they're a lot more diligent. They start requesting more information, and they start requesting a certificate of incorporation. They start requesting bylaws. They start requesting a lot of legal documents that makes it a lot more complicated. However, when it's a company, when we're contracted by a set term or a definite contract, it's a lot more easier because they don't request as much. That's my legal experience with this topic.
Thank you for answering that. And then the second question, you answered that very clearly, so thank you for that. The second question, I think someone is asking the same question coming up next in the group. But so say I did then apply for this visa through like a full-time position in the United States. But then how would the taxes work with that? I mean, I guess, would I be getting taxed in Colombia for a United States company and maybe like double taxed? Do you know if that information is also out right now as far as like taxes and working for a full-time company abroad?
What this new digital nomad visa brings is a lot of opportunities. The government begins to transition into providing different benefits. From what I understand, the government's looking into this new option and bringing more investment into the country. So there's going to be a lot more benefits coming in regards to taxes. I have to use a phrase that a lot of the lawyers use, is that in regards to taxes, it depends. It depends on that we would have to sit down and look into different factors. In the beginning, no. I know that after a certain time, or depending on certain purchases in the country, there are taxes. However, there's exemptions. There's a lot of exemptions that are related to providing services abroad. But every case is different. I can't give an exact answer, however, because I would have to sit down and also sit down with our tax expert and look at every case differently. However, there is a lot of benefits to this digital nomad visa, that the government's providing a lot of benefits, a lot of exceptions. However, every case is different. We have to look at your case and look at different factors and give you an effective a more precise consultation. For now, no, if you're not contracted directly with a Colombian company in Colombia and you don't have a direct contract, then you would have to say something aportar, which becomes a factor for declaraciones or income tax. However, we would have to look at different factors as well.
Cool. All right, thank you again. Thanks for answering these questions. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
I think we can't hear you, Maria. I think you have to turn on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for saying. So now we're gonna take Kevin's question.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you again for hosting this call and kind of giving us some more insight on the unfolding situation pertaining to this week. So my very specific question, and it comes to this clarity around Article 46 of the actual resolution. It states validity, but also duration of stay. From a legal standpoint, what is the definition of validity of 2 years, and how does that correspond to, can you stay for 2 full years, or you can only stay in increments of 90 days or 180 days?
Okay, thank you for your question. Basically, what the law indicates is that the validity is up to 2 years. That means that they're not obliged to give the complete time. This means that it's their discretion to give maybe 1 year or 2 years. That's a factor that I always try to clarify for my clients, that even though it says up to 2 years, that doesn't mean that they're going to give you the full amount. In regards to, for example, the permit that you're granted when you come into Colombia, which is the 180 days. However, you have to keep in mind that there are 90 days with the possibility of an extension of another 90 days. So that gives you a full 180 days during the year. That's something that I always, let my clients know. You can use that time if you're thinking about a short stay. However, if you want an extended stay, you want a long-term stay, before that time runs out, always recommend that you ask for this type of visa so that you can stay up to 1 year or maybe 2 years. In regards to the question, yes, the 2 years means that the government, under the discretion of the entity, they can give you up to 2 years. However, that doesn't guarantee that they're going to give you the full amount.
Got it. Okay, so if they issue, say, 1 year, you're obligated, you have the legal right to stay within Colombia for the duration of that year.
That's correct. Yes, sir. If they give you 1 year, you have that 1 year to stay in Colombia.
Got it. Perfect. No, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Kevin. So I'm going to go through with some questions in the chat. I will share with you that it's a bit difficult to follow the conversation, though. So, and there's also questions on Facebook. So I'm going to try to go through as much as question as I can. I'm going to start with the question related to the digital nomad visa. And if we still have time, we're going to go with the other questions. But if you really want your question to be answered, I would suggest that you raise your hand and you share it with your voice, because it's going to be simple for us to know that you ask a question. So David has a question, but it's about the permanent partner visa. So maybe we can answer that all about the prerequisite later if we have time. For now, let's focus on the digital nomad visa, since it's the topic of the webinar. So what are likely or known bias that the government would not talk about but exist anyway? So is there any bias that we should know, information that we should know that the government doesn't talk about, but we should know in the process of this visa?
Well, no. Something that I have to clarify is that in regards to a lot of times the officials or the people, the officers, immigration officers that take each case, it's not always the same person. it's kind of ambiguous in the sense that once the filing process goes through, one person may take it. However, if they decide to do a summons or requerimiento, another officer takes it, and then it depends on their interpretation. So that's why you have to be very careful, and that's why we're always very diligent with the work we provide, because if you don't do something correctly, any little detail, something that a lot of people don't know, is that the officers or officials of immigration, they are ex-DAS workers. DAS here in Colombia was an entity kind of like the FBI in sort. So they're very, very strict. They do a lot of background checks. They revise everything. That's why you have to be very careful and very diligent in the moment of applying for a visa, because any little detail that you leave out, the official is going to ask for more information or make the process more complicated. That's why we use our experience to kind of manage the situation, because we've been through it many times. And unfortunately, with these officials, they send it off to one person and then to another. So it's not always the same official. That's what a lot of clients ask me. They're like, is it always the same person? Is their decision based on just one person? No, it's based on several people sometimes, depending on how many summonses you receive. That's why when we receive a summons in behalf of our client, we always draft up a legal document that explains the reasons of our answer based on legal precedents. We don't use just a regular letter. We actually go to the law, state the law, and indicate why our answer should be positive. And basically that helps a lot of times. But in regards to the officials, it's very complicated because they always change from one hand to another.
Thank you, Cesar. So Charles, does that answer your question? Yeah. Okay. Now Jennifer, and then we're going to take Simon. Jennifer, are there special rules for pets with the digital nomad visa?
Special rules for what? I'm sorry.
For pets, like let's say someone who wants to bring her dog or cats, I don't know, on digital in Colombia. I don't know.
Well, I just recently have a pet, so that's a question that hits home. Yes, what happens with pets, it's a different procedure. It's a different, it has nothing to do with your digital nomad visa. Basically, what you have to request is with the airline, they give you, before you enter, they always give you the requirements. There are special requirements that you have to enter the country with a pet. But no, it has no link with your visa. You can come in with your pet as long as you comply with all the legal requirements that are established for pets. And as long as you have those requirements before you arrive to the airport and you comply with them, you shouldn't have an issue.
Thank you. Now, Simon White.
Thank you. Thanks for holding this session. Much appreciated. Can I ask, does the new regulation allow people to work as digital nomads while on a tourist stamp? So in effect, kind of work remotely while I apply for the new visa?
I'm sorry, so are you asking if the new visa lets you work in Colombia? I'm sorry.
Whether the new regulation allows people to work as digital nomads while they're on a tourist stamp?
Well, there are two different types of permits. One is a tourist permit. So that's the time that the government gives you, and you're very limited in, for example, in obtaining certain assets in Colombia, and not having an ID card. You would always have to use your passport to fulfill certain requirements, which a lot of entities don't accept. And that gives you a maximum of 180 days during the year. With the digital nomad visa, it changes because you have an option of obtaining an ID card, which you can open a bank account, you can obtain cable service. There's many things that open up once you have a visa, because it also provides you with beneficiary visas for your family. So one, which is a tourist permit, is very limited for just tourism. You can come in 180 days, you can leave, come back, and as long as you don't surpass those 180 days, you'll be fine. But with the digital nomad visa, if your intention is long-term, it gives you that extra room or the special opportunities to be in the country and live without restrictions as it is with a tourist permit.
Does that answer your question, Simon?
Not quite. I understand the benefits of applying for the digital nomad visa.
Well, I guess it's because you can have 1 year instead of like maybe the 180 days, and
Exactly.
you have other benefits like an ID card. You can open a bank account. If like, correct me, Cesar, if I'm wrong.
Yes,
but this
that's
is
correct.
okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
so
Maria.
there's other benefits coming with it. So I guess someone can decide to go on a tourist stamp and then ask for a digital nomad visa, and then like you could extend your stay by combining both, right?
That's correct. I mean, if your intention is to not surpass more than 180 days in Colombia, the tourist permit is perfect for you. If you don't have intentions of living long-term or opening up a bank account or doing other things that people with intentions of staying long-term would actually benefit from. So it depends on what your intentions are in the country. If it's something long-term short-term where you just want to stay maximum 6 months, then that's the best option for you. If you're thinking of long-term and you want to start purchasing assets in the country and opening a bank account, transferring over from abroad, then the digital nomad visa it gives you more time and gives you a lot more benefits.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions, Simon?
No, that's it.
No.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Cesar.
You're quite welcome.
Okay, there's a couple of questions about taxes. As Cesar said, it's case by case. So the first answer is no, we should not have to pay taxes, but still it's case by case. So we recommend, of course, to take an appointment with Cesar's team to see if in your case you need to pay taxes while on the digital nomad visa. I just remember, but I'm wondering too, I saw the question on Facebook. I think the person was asking, can we leave and get back in Colombia during the digital nomad visa, or if we leave Colombia for a couple of months or weeks, does this have an impact on our visa, or are we free to move in other countries?
Okay, that's a great question. A lot of people think that just by obtaining the visa, they can leave to their country of origin or other countries for many months. However, the law is very clear, indicating that you can stay, if you stay more than 180 days outside of Colombia, then you will lose your right to your visa. It's something you have to be very careful with. It's not that you obtain your visa and you can leave for a year out of your country and then expect to come back and you still have your visa. No, there's a lot of clients of mine that had that experience, from other cases that they managed, or they went with other firms and they didn't have this information. It's very important that what I always tell my clients, once you have your visa, and I put it in writing, please keep track of your time if you're staying abroad, because if you don't keep track of that time, and of course, we always help our clients with notifications. Once they let us know they're leaving, and with long-term, we always send like a reminder notification. It's very important to keep these times in mind, because if you stay more than 180 days outside of the country, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will think that you're not interested in this visa and they'll cancel it automatically.
Okay, well, thank you for this information, and thank you to the person on Facebook who asked for it. Ricardo.
Thank you for taking my question. So you mentioned that you can apply for the visa. So if I visit Colombia as a tourist, I can then apply for the digital nomad visa, correct?
That's correct. You can apply in Colombia or from abroad.
But if I'm in Colombia, does it behoove me to do it sooner than later? So if, for instance, if I'm in Colombia for a week or a month, does it look better in the eyes of the officials if I apply for it sooner in my visit? Or if I were to apply, say, in month 4 or even 5, would that look bad? Like I'm trying to sort of extend the length of time into the country beyond, 2 years, by basically 2 years plus the 6 months as a tourist.
No, the most important thing that you have to keep in mind is as long as you're legal in the country, as long as you have that tourist status, you're able to apply for a visa. They don't really determine, or they don't really look into what your intentions are if you're here for a week or a month or 2 months. The most important thing that I always recommend or advise my clients with is that as long as you're legal, because a lot of times you have to keep track of your time if you're from the 180 days when you come in. The entity or Migration Colombia is not going to do it for you. They won't give you like a notice. So a lot of people stay past the time, and then they have to pay a fine, and then they have to ask for permission to leave, what is called a safe conduct. And it doesn't make it impossible for you to apply, but it complicates things for you. So what I always recommend is, as long as you're within the 180 days, if you're here in Colombia, and maybe you decide, you know what, I think that after the 5th month, I think I want to extend my stay. I think I have a long-term intention. So let me apply for, a visa. They'll give me more time and give me an opportunity to have an ID card so I can open up my cable service and so on and so on. So no, in regards to that question, it's not really a factor in regards to the time, as long as you're legal in the country.
And just a quick follow-up question, if you don't mind, Cesar. Is this like a once in a lifetime sort of situation where when you apply for the digital nomad visa, you're granted a year, maybe 2 years? Is that it? That going forward after that, you would be precluded from ever applying again? Or is there any sort of language around that?
Well, there's different options to different types of visas. Once you apply for a digital nomad visa, then they're going to have to look for some other type of visa. They're not going to extend this type of visa. So basically, it's just for you to come in to work temporarily. And then there's other options in regards to the visas that you can apply for.
Okay, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you. So we have now iPhone who wants to ask a question.
Sorry, that's me. Kind of in the same path of these questions. Is it possible to, as on the tourist visa, to work from Colombia, and like, let's say you're 4 months there working from Colombia, technically as like a digital nomad for a foreign company, but then you decide to do the digital nomad visa. Would that, because when you have to submit the documents that you are earning money from a foreign company, and they might realize that you're already in Colombia, would that be illegal or prevent you from getting this digital nomad visa?
No, not at all. I mean, if you want to enter the Colombia, and you want to just stay 3 months with the tourist permit, which is called, you can do so. You can work. You can be a digital nomad with that time that you're given, the 180 days, as long as you're not contracted in Colombia. That's something very important. If you start working in Colombia with this type of visa, then there is a possibility that you will receive a sanction and you'll be canceled, and they'll basically kind of give you a fine or take a decision to do an administrative process against you. However, if you're here just working as a digital nomad and you're taking advantage of the 180 days, there's no problem to do so. And the digital nomad visa, what it does is just, it gives you more time. It depends on every case, like I mentioned. Every person has their own, objective in Colombia. A lot of people think, with 180 days, I'll be fine. I'll go back to the States, come back next year, run out the 180 days. And for me, that's sufficient. Every case is different. So not every person, has the same objective in Colombia. However, there are people that say, well, I'm thinking of staying longer than those 6 months, and I don't want to have complications. I don't want to be illegal. I don't have to request a safe conduct. I don't want to pay the fine. So let me do things right. and have a year or two to just live here in Colombia and have no issues.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we still have 5 minutes, maybe, and we have to conclude everything also. So maybe 1 or 2 more questions. So a lot of questions about the taxes. So still, we recommend you to take an appointment with Cesar. Of course, it's going to depend of your country of residence also. So yes. Matt is asking, what sort of research does the government do on their end? Do they contact the employer and verify the application works for the company? And
Every official is different.
okay.
Not every official, not the same official takes the same case. Every official is different, and it depends on what due diligence they want to perform. A lot of times they'll, if you're, for example, I had a case of a client of mine that was in New Jersey, and he wanted me to apply for him from a consulate. I applied for him through a consulate, and they requested his phone number, and they wanted to contact him. They have the autonomy of doing the research that they want to do. They might check into see if you actually work in this company. They might call a reference. They have the possibilities and the autonomy of doing the research, whatever research they need, they think is relevant. So every case is different. Like I said, every official is different. Their criterias are different. The entities, because there's 2 entities that are managed the visa process, which is the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and then there's Migración Colombia. Both these entities have different criteria as well. So, it depends. It depends on the official. It depends on their criteria. But there's no exact investigation process. It just depends on what kind of due diligence they want to do.
So the best advice, I guess, is to share true information. So just
Yes, please.
and
Yes.
everybody should be okay with like your employer being called and whatever. Okay,
Yes.
last question. What exactly does the letter from my employer have to state? I want to make sure I have the right verbiage. Also, what is needed to prove the income requirements? A pay stub or bank statement?
For the letter, it's something very basic, important that it has the logo of the company you work for. And it's just a certification that you're contracted with them, starting date, if you have an indefinite contract, the salary that you make a month, and just the basic information that is required and a certification from a company. A lot of my clients have mentioned, well, Cesar, my company doesn't really, send out certifications. It doesn't have to be a precise format, as long as you have the company logo, whoever's the human resources director or person in charge to expedite these kind of certifications. It just has to have your basic employment information. It's very useful to also attach your contract. If you have a contract, I always, advise my clients on just attaching it, even though sometimes it's not really required. However, just adding that contract, your labor contract is also important. And there was a second question, right? I'm sorry. With that.
Yes. What are sorry, I was reading other questions to be sure. What proof? What is needed to prove the income requirements?
I'm sorry.
Statement.
Yes, it's, a lot of people, I always advise just send me the basic information bank statement. You don't have to send me, the 10 pages that come with the bank statement. Just the bank statement information. For example, you have deposits, transactions, the basic information. The month has to be detailed. It's very important because remember, you have to provide the 3 previous months. So for example, July, August, September, it has to indicate that. And you have to be very diligent and careful. We're very careful with this part. That's why it's very important to do it correctly, because if any little detail is, not included, it automatically gives them, the opportunity to say, either we're going to request more information, or we're just going to reject your visa, which means that you can't apply for the next 6 months, or inadmitido, which means that you have to start all over again. So, all these little details, that's why we always help our clients with drafting up the documentation, implementing everything correctly from our experience. Because if you leave any little detail to chance, that's going to give the entity the opportunity of giving a bad pronouncement against you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so I close the chat. I see one hand. We're going to take one last question, Nick, and then we're going to conclude this webinar with other information about what's coming up for the association. So, Nick?
Yeah. Let's say if you've taken a break from work for about a year, and so you don't have maybe like the past bank statements from recent months, would there be any other way but you have like, money in the bank, and you have a new job lined up, and maybe you just don't have, you have like a month within that job. Is that something that would preclude you from getting this visa?
With the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it's very important to comply with all the information that they require. And if you don't comply with at least the salary from the last previous months, then that's going to be an issue, because we could file it. However, I'm sure that they're going to do a requerimiento or a summons, and they're going to want to verify this information. If we're not able to verify it, then that's going to be an issue, and they may take the unfortunate step of just admitting or rejecting the visa.
Okay, thank you. And so I think I remember 3 months of past paychecks.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
It could be bank statements just showing that you have that money coming in, that from your employer. So that's something to keep in mind.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for your questions. And thank you so much, Cesar, for all of your answers. I know that many of you still have questions, and I know that through this process, you may have other questions. So please don't hesitate to contact Cesar's team in November, because he is giving you this wonderful discount. And talking about discount, so we are sharing this webinar with you in the Digital Nomads Colombia group, and Cesar is giving you all this wonderful discount for the month of November. But so now we're gonna start to share discount, and in the new Facebook group specifically to the Digital Nomad Association. So we invite you to join the Facebook group right now if you would like to know more about, if you want to get notifications about the discounts, and also about the next webinars and activity that are going to come, because slowly we're going to start to move from one group with the members of the association and have more activities for the association in this group. So if you want to stay tuned on everything about the Digital Nomad visa or any other informations related to the Digital Nomad lifestyle in Colombia, please join the group and you're gonna receive all the information. So Nadia, Carolina, Francisco, Cesar, do you have anything to add before we conclude this webinar?
In my case, no, nothing to add, just to say thank you very much, guys, for such an amazing Facebook Live. So especially like to Cesar for those very clear explanations, and also to Maria to lead this. Thank you. I think it was like very, very clear everything, and for all the nomads, some people they are planning to apply, people that they are already in Colombia or outside of Colombia. So we are very happy if you join our group in the Digital Nomad Association, because we are like making so many nice partnership with other entrepreneurs and local entrepreneurs. So we will give you some discounts with tours and with so many things to explore the country. So this is the only thing that I want to add. Thanks.
Wonderful, thank you, Nadia. Someone is asking what is the Facebook page for Cesar Business. So maybe Cesar, you can share it in the Facebook Live, in the comment. Maybe you can share the link directly for all your social media, and it's going to be easier for people to find it.
Yes, Carolina's going there, and that's
Yeah.
our Facebook page, Instagram. Please follow us. We're always updating with different legal updates. If you're interested, we have members that are always interested in keeping up with immigration changes. We're always updating with legal news, and we're launching a renovation of our website, which is going to include information relevant to expats, like example, what is a visa, what is a apostille, what is an ID card in Colombia, and we're going to be providing a lot of information. We're always providing legal information that helps you, that gives you insight into different, not only immigration, also maybe labor law, if you're interested in commercial law, if you're interested in creating a company in Colombia. And I want to conclude with thanking the Digital Nomad Association for this invitation. Thank you so much for this opportunity to Marie, Nadia, and Carolina, Francois. Thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm at your disposal whenever you want to talk about digital nomad visas, or maybe in the future labor law, commercial law. I'm not only an immigration specialist, I'm also a corporate lawyer here in Colombia, licensed in Colombia. I was an expat as well. You know, I lived many years in California, and now I'm an attorney here in Colombia and a founder of this law firm. So if you ever need help, please don't hesitate to contact me. And thank you again to Digital Nomad Visa Association, Digital Nomad Association, I'm sorry, for this invitation. And I'm always at your disposal.
Thank you. And yes, there's so many topics to talk about. I know today some people had question about the requirements to open a business, but maybe we should do another webinar just about that another day for the Digital Nomad Association Colombia. So if you want to stay tuned for this next event, we invite you to join the Facebook group of the association. So we are always in the Facebook group too. So if you have any questions, suggestions, comments, don't hesitate to ask them there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, everyone.
See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.